Aum Amanastvana me dukkha raga dvesha bhayadayaha aprano yamana shubra ityadi shruti shasanat. Amanastvat, because of not being the mind. Na, not. Me, for me. Dukkha, suffering. Raga, attachment. Dvesha, malice. Bhaya adayaha, fear, etc. Apranaha, without breath. He, verily. Amanaha, without mind. Shubhraha, pure. Iti adi, etc. Shruti shasanat, for the great scripture says so. I am free from sorrow, attachment, malice, and fear, for I am other than the mind. He is without breadth and without mind, pure, higher than the high, and imperishable. Namaste. So the previous verse, the first verse of the Bhuta Shuddhi meditation, denies any connection between the Atman and the body. In this verse, the connection between the Atman and the mind is also negated. Because he opens up talking about sorrow, attachment, malice, fear, and so on. These are all qualities of the mind. In other words, they do not exist as a tangible, separate reality or object, but they are something concocted by the mind by comparing different thoughts. This is what I want, and this is what I got. And then one becomes sorrowful. Oh, I didn't get what I wanted, or angry. This is not what I wanted. Or becomes attached. Oh, I want this, Or stricken with fear. Like, what if I don't get what I want? Or malice. Malice means evil intention. I'm planning to harm someone. Therefore, I'm stricken with malice. See, these are all the illusions of the mind, comparing what we want with what we got. And of course, what we got is what we are due to our karma. So it's not that the universe is unfair or uncaring or what to speak of wrong, The universe is always perfect. It's the mind that gets it all wrong. Because the mind is always comparing and trying to find some small advantage, some competitive edge that it can use to get over on the next guy. See, the mind is very cunning. It's like a fox. If you ever try to hunt a fox, they'll do all kinds of tricks like doubling back on their own trail or walking through a stream to cover their tracks, their scent, and, all kinds of weird stuff. Coyotes do the same type of thing. They're very wary, very alert, and very tricky. The mind is the same way. The mind doesn't really want to show you how it works. Because if you could see how the mind works, you wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. The mind is a complete shadow play. It's total illusion. The mind, first of all, doesn't exist as a thing. The mind is an aggregate of what? Thoughts. Different kinds of thoughts. Sense perceptions, imagination, memories, desires, and then, of course, there's the intelligence, which, seems very proper and intelligent, but it's really not. It's artificial intelligence. It's just snippets of code that we have lifted, copied, and pasted from other people. And we think, we're being so intelligent. But as we discussed last time, logic can be misused or abused to prove any kind of nonsense. You can prove that black is white, or that white is black through logic. How? Oh, well, okay. Consider the difference in brightness between black and white. It seems like a lot, right? But then compare the white with the sun, and it looks dark by comparison. In fact, if you compare it with the sun, you can't really tell the difference between black and white because the sun is so much brighter than both of them. So it's just a rounding error, The difference between black and white is just a tiny, insignificant fraction of the brilliance of the sun. So from the sun's point of view, black and white are the same. See? Black is white, white is black. So logic can be misused, it can be abused, and this is why we have the scriptures. Because the scriptures tell us what is really true. There is no author of the 4 Vedas and Upanishads and so on, because these scriptures emanate from the breathing of Mahavishnu. When Mahavishnu expands his breath to create the universe, the Vedas automatically manifest, and the sages can hear them. The sages are given this knowledge, inspired, not through words, but through direct perception. And then the words issue forth automatically from them. And that is how the Vedas begin, as an oral tradition coming down from the great sages at the beginning of the world. And they were only written down in Kali Yuga, because otherwise we'd forget them completely. So the second half of this verse is a quotation from Muṇḍakopaniṣad. And Muṇḍaka, in case you don't know, it means shaved head. Muṇḍakopaniṣad is great because it's like a manual on how to be a student of the Upanishads, how to be a bona fide Āupanishadic Brahmana. And at the end, it said one should wear fire on one's head. That's why we put these ashes. See, these ashes are considered equivalent to fire in purity because they're triple pure. First of all, they're burned cow dung from Deshi cows, sacred cows, Brahmana cows, Brahman bulls. And second of all, they're burnt very white hot in an airtight container. So they're purified by fire also. And then they're offered to Lord Shiva in the temple. So they're triple pure and prasadam, Shiva prasad. So this, putting this on the head, purifies the intelligence. People think that these are just quaint, customs. But no, they're powerful yogic techniques. Because when you see someone with the Tripundra, then you think, oh, here's a devotee, here's a yogi, here's a meditator, here's someone who knows the truth. And the shaved head, the same thing. Before, shaving your head became cool, back in the 60s and 70s, we devotees were shaving our heads, and we were considered radical. Now, of course, it's an ordinary thing. Everybody shaves their head, trying to be a badass. But the real yogis have always shaved their head. Why? Because the brain is like a receiver. It receives inspiration from the intuition, from the universal mind. So if you know anything about radio and antennas, the longer the antenna, the lower the frequency that it picks up. So conversely, a short antenna will pick up a very high frequency. This is why these hairs are kept as short as possible, to pick up the highest frequencies possible. And this is the same as the knowledge given in the Upanishads. Let me read the context around this quote from the second Muṇḍaka. That thing that is such is true. As from a fire fully ablaze fly off sparks in their thousands that are akin to the fire, similarly, O good-looking one, from the immutable originate different kinds of creatures, and into it again they merge. Purusha is transcendental, since he is formless, and since he is coextensive with all that is external and internal, and since he is birthless, therefore he is without vital force and without mind. He is pure and superior to the other superior immutable, Maya. From him originates the vital force as well as the mind. All the senses, space, air, fire, water, and earth that supports everything. So the Purusha, of course, means Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. Although he has no vital force, the vital force comes from him. Although he has no mind, mind comes from him. Although he has no consciousness, consciousness comes from him, along with the various bodily organs of which we are conscious. The eyes, ears, tongue, nose, so forth. So, of all these things, the most troublesome is the mind. Because it is the mind that disturbs us with various comparisons between our desires and what is so, as we discussed earlier. So the mind causes much suffering. Mental suffering. Mental suffering is far worse than physical suffering. It doesn't ever take a vacation. So this mental suffering disappears when one realizes, I am not the mind. Neti neti. I am not these thoughts. I am not these impressions. I am not these desires or memories. I am not this imagination. I am not this fabrication called the mind. And that right there is the end of all mental suffering. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum. Aum Namah Shivaya.